Alright guys, well welcome to the first video of this channel. We'll see how this goes. Basically, I am starting a channel for miniature wargaming. That's, most of you guys probably will know what this is. If you don't, then probably not the channel for you. But anyway, little miniature guys you end up playing tabletop games with. This is a guy from the 40K, of course, right in time for the new 8th edition. But this is the Death Watch, and one of the first guys I painted with a paintbrush. Not this paintbrush though. This video ultimately is going to be about this paintbrush, the Badger Air Krome Renegade model. And the reason that I really wanted to do this was that I was doing research online, and there had not been any updated reviews of this thing. The most recent one I found on YouTube was a year ago, 2 years ago. So I just want to let everyone know we're in June 2017 and what this thing looks like today. And had a chance to use it a little bit, not much. Kind of coming from one of these ones that everyone says don't buy. Getting some glare there, but get an old Chinese airbrush. Maybe paid $22 on eBay 3 years ago for this thing. Served me well. Not a bad airbrush, but I can tell you for sure when the other reviews say that the better ones kind of do you justice, it's true. So let's get right into it. So pretty cool case. Everyone talks about it. At the end of the day, not too exciting realistically. I don't keep it in here, but for the sake of this review, I put it back so everyone can see what it comes with. So for the most part, this is what it looks like. Some of these things aren't in the places they should be, but at the end of the day, you have the airbrush, spare needle, some nozzles, and other things we'll kind of talk about. But let's take a look at the airbrush. Airbrush is really, really cool. So this is the Renegade Krome, as I said. And this is cool cap. Some of the other reviews said this cap, the metal one that actually covers the cup, doesn't hold on well. Now, if you just kind of put it there, yeah, but it does fit in, and you twist it a little bit, and that thing doesn't come off at all. Not that I use it. Realistically, for the amount of paint that we're utilizing in this hobby, you don't really need that thing. But anyway, cool airbrush. Has this little cool rubber cup. I swapped out this nozzle though, and the nozzle that I have here, my son just kind of walked in to the garage, but I have this nozzle because it doesn't come with it, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But anyway, airbrush operates fine. Really cool. I like the reason that I kind of chose this one, the stopper in the back. I'm not the greatest with an airbrush as far as trigger control, so I thought that was helpful. So I've been playing around with that a little bit. I'm not going to break it down. There's plenty of videos on YouTube on how to break this thing down. But one thing I want everyone to know is that it does come with two needles. This needle here is the ultra fine needle, the .21. It comes loaded in the brush when you buy it. But ultimately, that needle is not the one that most of us are going to be painting with, primarily because of the type of paints that we utilize. And my daughter is trying to get into this video, but it's not usually the paints that we utilize, such as Games Workshop paints, which I have quite a bit of course, because I painted with a brush forever. But now I've upgraded to kind of this Model Air, which is really, really awesome. But anyway, the reason I was saying that, so the smaller nozzle gets clogged a little bit. Even in the short amount of time that I've been utilizing it, you do see that if you don't properly thin it, you'll get some issues with it. And there were some cool interviews with Ken from basically the owner of Badger, and he said the same thing, and that's evident. It's not horrific or anything like that. But what I did was started using the other needle that it comes with, which, like I said, when it comes packaged, it actually comes in here. This needle comes in the airbrush, so you have to swap those things out. But one thing that I wasn't prepared for when I purchased the airbrush was swapped out the needle. Go ahead and swap out this tiny little, I don't know what they call it. I guess it's a regulator at the end. I don't know if you can see it in this video, but there's a tiny piece in there. Swapped it out and went to go ahead and spray some air through it, and nothing. Couldn't figure it out. Swapped it out, and then if you notice in this case, which probably a little people, everyone else here is probably a little smarter than me on this, but that cap that comes in here, and I'll open this, probably give you guys a good view of what that is. This thing is tiny. So this is the cap that basically you'd utilize on there if you don't want these little prongs. I like the prongs. Primarily I like the prongs because I utilize this to clean my airbrush. And it scares me putting the airbrush in there and I'm going to break a needle. I don't want to do that. So back to what I was saying. Swapped it all out. Didn't have this additional one that it comes with on here. Had the original one that comes with here, the other pronged one. It's right in there if you can see. No air spraying out. And because, after doing some research, well, this is for the fine needle, and that one's for the ultra fine needle. So when it comes packaged, ultra fine needle is the prongs, fine is the one without the prongs. Couldn't use the other needle in here. So, went on Amazon, $11, got myself pronged fine attachment. And it's crazy, really confusing when you look online because some of them say on the description of the product, fine needle tip, and has the right product code. And then when you look at the bulk of the description in the body of the Amazon posting, it'll say ultra fine. It's the fine needle. It's the right code. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have it right here. Yes, I do. RK059 is the one you need. So, with all that said, threw that on. Really, really, really cool airbrush. I can tell you, hands down, I don't know how many people maybe talked about this, but you see this cup in here? It's a little larger than I probably like. After using it for a little bit, though, it grew on me. And the reason that it grew on me is that you can clean it out so simple. One thing I noticed over again, kind of this airbrush here, is when you're cleaning out the cup, in between paints, it is so much easier. It is crazy how much easier it is. And primarily I think it's just because of the way it's polished. Let me open this one here so you guys can take a look at it. This is kind of one of those imitation airbrushes. Like I said, it even says HD 470. I guess it's kind of a play on the Iwata brand, but anyway, if you look in there, it's got a really deep well compared to the Badger. But that wasn't even so much of an issue. It's just this isn't really polished well. So when you go to clean it, it just takes a lot more effort to clean this thing than it does the Renegade, which is one reason I love it. Now the trigger feel, as far as everyone's kind of saying, this is awesome, there's so much control over it. They're right, but to tell you the truth, I'm probably not advanced enough to notice as much of a difference. Every day of the week, I'd rather use this trigger than another cheap one. There is that noticeable difference, but does it make you kind of spend the additional $110 for this versus that one? Not that in and of itself. Overall, it's amazing airbrush. Comes with this other adapter. If you notice, this thing is tiny. If you're using a standard 1/8 fitting, of course, not going to work. They call this the Iwata adapter. It's perfect. Just goes ahead, screw it on, and then boom, you can use the compressor or whatever line that you have. I did some research. It wasn't clear. I was kind of had my fingers crossed. Hope it came with it, and it did. Some instructions in there, but at the end of the day, this is a really, really cool airbrush. One of the reasons that I ended up going with Badger, and I'll kind of tell you this story. Doing some research, really was going to get a Harder and Steinbeck, if I'm pronouncing that properly, airbrush. It was just one that a lot of YouTube guys that I noticed utilize that thing. It just seemed from a quality standpoint significantly better than everything else here, even the Badger when I was doing the research. After doing some YouTube searching, seeing the interviews with Ken, that's what kind of pulled me into this. He cared a lot about his product, and for someone to care that much about something like this that they're manufacturing for generations is usually what makes the difference, right? At the end of the day, a machined part is a machined part. There are different tolerances and whatnot, but at the end of the day, those are only specs. But when somebody cares about what they're doing, and when you're putting an investment of an airbrush, a couple $100, you want the person on the other side manufacturing that thing to really care about what type of product they're putting out there. Being in the United States, a little difficult, of course, to get the German airbrush. Went with the American-made one, and at the end of the day, the reviews that I seen and the different things that like I said on that interview that he had spoken about, really kind of said, I'm going to go in for it now. I'm getting this thing. And to tell you the truth, I'm extremely happy about it. Is it the best airbrush out there? To tell you the truth, not the guy to tell you if it is or isn't. I don't have enough experience with it, but I can tell you this right now. That utilizing that cheap airbrush to this one, at the end of the day, it's significantly better. And it's one that I love. And to tell you the truth, I'll probably be a Badger fan for as long as I'm in this hobby at the end. Because as long as this thing does me well, I'm going to utilize it.